time, we're signing some historic tax relief into law today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Governor Ricketts.
So thank you very much, Alex.
Sorry, Governor.
Thank you all very much. Oh,
Sorry.
hold on a second. We gotta wait for Andrew, apparently. Anything else, Andrew, while we're here?
Sorry about that.
Oh, we gotta make sure we get it right for posterity.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else need to play with the microphone up here before we get started? All right, very good. Well, folks, thank you all very much for joining us today on this historic day. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that while we've got many people here today, there is one person who is a big part of this process who cannot be here, and that's Senator Tom Breezy. It was his nephew, Fire Chief of Elwood, Darren Krull, who was killed in the line of duty earlier this week, and he is at Darren's funeral today, and so he can't be with us. And I'd like everybody to just take a moment of silence to remember Fire Chief Krull in the loss of his life. Thank you very much. All success involves teamwork, hard work, and tenacity. And this historic tax relief bill today that I'm about to sign involves all that. It was a huge team effort. And we're going to acknowledge many of those people later here this morning as part of that team effort. I want to start by thanking Speaker Hilgers for the great cooperation we have had throughout his tenure as Speaker, and in particular on this bill. And then I also want to thank Chair of the Revenue Committee, Senator Lou Ann Linehan, for her great work, again, over the last several years as Chair of the Revenue Committee, and in particular on this bill, and the tenacity that she demonstrated in bringing this bill forward. But it was also a team effort on behalf of all the members of the Revenue Committee who put forward these variety of bills. And again, this bill I'm signing here today has many component parts. It has component parts from LB 723, Tom Breezy's bill, with regard to property tax relief, and Senator Friesen's bill 873, which is the bill that we're signing, which was also about property tax relief. Senator Lindstrom's bill 825, which was about Social Security tax relief. And finally, Senator Linehan's bills 938, and 939, which had to do with the income tax relief. So all these bills came together into the bills that we have here today. And we're going to have a number of speakers here talk about those bills. We're going to have Speaker Hilgers say a few remarks. Senator Linehan's going to say a few remarks. We're also going to have the President of the State Chamber of Commerce, Brian Sloan, say a few remarks. Brian, you're here somewhere, right? Right now, he's right there in the back. Good tall guys in the back. Tall people go in the back. Also, we will have, as part of our speakers, then Mark McCarthy, who's the President of the Nebraska Farm Bureau, David Brown, who's President of the Omaha Chamber, and then Dick Pierce, who is the Chair of the Nebraska Cattlemen's Tax Committee. So all those folks will say brief remarks here prior to me signing the bill. And I just want to highlight that there's going to be a number of other people who are involved in this, not the least of which were all the senators who signed on to this bill, supported by 45 of 49 senators. Now, what set the stage for this was the fact that Nebraska continues to grow. Nebraska came through the pandemic very strong. We've seen that with a number of national rankings that ranked us very highly with regard to our pandemic response here. Nebraskans are resilient. They take care of their neighbors, and they work hard. And because of that, we have seen phenomenal growth in our state. For example, our beef exports reached a record amount last year, $1.81 billion in beef exports, 25% higher than any previous year. We had record corn production, 1.85 billion bushels of corn. Record soybean production, 351 million bushels of soybeans. Agriculture being our number one industry, these are foundational to our economy. And of course, we saw record exports of both corn and soybeans as a nation last year. And we have the lowest unemployment rate in the country and in state history. And we have seen that because of this economic growth, our state revenues have grown. In fact, state revenues are forecasted to be over $1 billion more in this biennium than they were when we entered the legislature last year. And the legislature has rightly recognized that it is their duty to return that money back to the people of Nebraska. It's not my money, it's not the legislature's money, it's the people's money. And so what you saw was a historic and unprecedented effort on the behalf of so many people to get this done by the Speaker, the Revenue Committee, all the senators who supported this bill, all the different groups that got involved. And we're going to recognize a lot of them here today that were part of this. Some of the ones that are going to be speaking, the State Chamber, the Omaha Chamber, the Nebraska Farm Bureau, the Nebraska Cattlemen. But all the ag groups were on board for this, and numbers of other different groups, wide-ranging from Americans for Prosperity, AARP, Lincoln Independent Business Association, the Lincoln Chamber, all sorts of groups, and that was just to name a few, came together to be able to make this happen. It also required a lot of work on behalf of all the staffs of not only those organizations, but also in the senators' offices. Let's say the fiscal office, Department of, and in the Revenue Committee, as well as my policy research office and budget office. Again, this truly was a team effort, and it required hard work to pull all this together and persistence to continue to overcome the obstacles that came up as we went through this process. It truly demonstrates what can happen when you pull together all the folks who are required to make a historic bill like this happen, and really demonstrates that Nebraska spirit of working together, collaborating, cooperating, and the resilience and determination and grit that Nebraskans have. So before I sign the bill, I'd like to turn it over to Speaker Hilgers, who's going to say a few words. Speaker.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor Ricketts, for the opportunity to be here and for all your leadership to get us to this point. You know, before I ran for Speaker for the 107th Legislature, I thought we really had an opportunity, a historic opportunity, to have a transformational impact on the state of Nebraska. And I thought that in part because we had a great partner in the executive branch going into his final years who was looking to swing big, and in part because over the previous 6 years, we had had the fiscal discipline to give the state the resources to do big things like give more money back to Nebraska taxpayers. But more importantly, I knew coming into this session, the 107th Legislature, that we had the team, many of whom are behind me, who both would think big and work together to get those big things accomplished. And LB 873 is a tangible result of that teamwork that I think will have a transformational impact for generations of Nebraskans. And I give all the credit to the people behind me, who, starting first and foremost with Chair Linehan, who I think is the best chair of the Revenue Committee in my lifetime, and I think will go down as one of the greats in the unicameral. Yes. Senator Breezy, as Governor Ricketts mentioned, as well as Senator Friesen, Senator Hughes, Senator Stinner, and so many others, all the members of the Revenue Committee, Senator Albright, Senator Flood. I won't name all 48 of my colleagues, but truly the governor is right. Was a team effort. Couldn't have been done without their help. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things we can look back on with a lot of pride, that through our work, working together as a team, working together with the governor, we got something big and major and transformational accomplished for the people of the state of Nebraska. And to describe that, I am now going to turn over the mic to Senator Linehan.
Thank you. Speaker Hilgers, good morning, everyone. I am honored to be here with the governor and the speaker, and they are absolutely true. It was teamwork from the very beginning. Before I was even down here this winter, very early, before session began, both Speaker Hilgers and the governor and I talked about what we could accomplish with tax cuts. And a lot of what we've accomplished is due to the governor's discipline and the legislature's discipline on spending over the last 8 years, for the governor, 6 years since I've been here. It's been an honor to work with Senators Lindstrom, Albright, Breezy, Bostar, Flood, Friesen, and Pauls. I'm proud of our accomplishment. This year with Governor Ricketts, we were able to pass the largest tax cut in Nebraska history. LB 873 was the vehicle used after a couple of failed attempts. Senator Lindstrom and his LB 825 helped provide Social Security tax cuts. Senator Breezy and his LB 723 helped make sure that the property tax income tax credits were funded properly. Senator Breezy was also a leading force in establishing the new income tax credit for community colleges, as well as Senator Friesen. LB 939, my bill, was the income tax, both corporate and personal income tax cuts. And finally, thanks Senator Friesen, when we got there to the end and didn't know, we had this one package left in the Revenue Committee, and Senator Friesen allowed us to use it to put it together. I thank everyone for not giving up. I want to especially give a shout out to 3 women, Lauren Kittner, who was there with me every step of the way, and Kristen, and Jen, who took all my phone calls even when I was not in a happy mood, which were several. It's been amazing, really, since this part of the fun of the last week has been people have been doing their income taxes, and they are getting their income tax credit from 1107. And I actually had an experience where I don't watch the next door neighbor thing very often, but not last weekend, the weekend before, I'm looking at my next door neighbor thread, and it's like, oh, have you done your income taxes? We got $700 back. You need to refile. So people noticed. So thank you to all of you and everybody that helped, every senator, all the lobby, the Chambers of Commerce, the Farm Bureau. It was a team effort. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Brian Sloat. I'm president of the Nebraska Chamber. First of all, and most of all, I want to thank both the governor and the unicameral for what is the most historic tax legislation in our history. I want to make 2 very quick points. One, I want to reiterate that a lot of people have talked about, well, are we a state that is basing this tax reduction on rosy forecasts? Quite the contrary. It's based on very conservative forecasts, but it's not based on forecasts at all. It's based upon 8 years of incredible fiscal discipline by the legislature and by the governor, which I would rank as #1 in the country. There's nothing like our unicameral form of government, form of legislature in the country. It works, and that fiscal discipline led to where we are today. That plus how this state performed in the pandemic, and on behalf of the thousands of businesses in the state who went to work and kept this economy going, including our farmers and including our non-farm businesses. We are coming out of this pandemic as the #1 economy in the state. Now, Governor, I read in the Wall Street Journal that we were ranked #2 in terms of our pandemic performance, but I'm with you. I don't believe Utah was #1 at all. I truly believe we are the #1 state coming out of the pandemic in terms of economic resiliency, and everything I see verifies that. #2, looking forward, as I go from community to community to community, the issue we have to continue this role that we're on as a state really relates to our ability to attract people and innovation and technology companies to our core industries within the state, whether it's agriculture, manufacturing, or our retail, or our transportation logistics, or our finance industries. We're #1 in most everything I can think of. But we were, I think at the beginning of this year, Tax Foundation rated us #34 in terms of business tax climate going into this year. Now, I know a lot about Nebraskans, and none of us wear buttons that say we're #34 out of 50. Well, it's time to take off that button. We're not #34 out of 50 again. We're open for business, and we're open to keep this economy going, and we're open to grow our communities, and we're open to attract the very young people that we need as us boomers leave the business world and leave the farms and transfer community leadership and business leadership to this next generation. This will be historic, I think, in that context, It is exactly the launch pad for what we need to move from this generation to the next. And with that, again, I want to thank the governor, I want to thank Chair Linehan, and I want to thank the entire body, as well as the speaker, for everything that you've done along that way. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I'm Mccarthy, president of Nebraska Farm Bureau. I want to extend my thanks as well to the governor and everyone that stands behind me. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we just won the national championship of taxes. And it's awesome. I mean, we've been working at this for a long time, and there's nobody in the room or nobody in the state more than this room that understands the heavy lift that something like this takes. I mean, it's a team effort. That's been mentioned. But as far as Team Nebraska, the winners are the taxpayers of Nebraska. That's who's going to make the difference for. And I can tell you what, when we look at our property taxes and we look at what this is going to do for the reduction in property taxes, the average homeowner out there, there's a chance that they can make an extra payment on their mortgage. And you do that year after year, the fact that it'll get our property, our residential owners out of debt faster. You look at Nebraska in the farm and ranch sector, it's going to make us more competitive with all the states around us. And it's going to keep a lid on one of the highest fixed costs that we have, which is property tax. And then at the end of the day, when we look at our seniors and the Social Security tax reform, I don't know about you, I've got 8 grandkids, and if we can keep retirees, grandma and grandpas here in Nebraska with their grandkids, I think that's always a win. Thank you again for everybody's hard work on that, and I'm going to turn it over to David Brown with the Greater Omaha Chamber.
So I kind of feel like everything's been said, and I really think the podium should be turned around and we should be talking to this group of leaders behind us who really made all this happen. Governor, Speaker Hilgers, Chairman Linehan, thank you. Thank you to the Revenue Committee, and thank you to the unicameral for all that they've done to make this happen. In 2004, a few short months after I got into the Omaha Chamber, our board asked the question, how competitive are we? And so we asked KPMG to do an analysis. And they came back and said, well, the good news is cost of living in the state of Nebraska is pretty good. Cost of labor in the state of Nebraska is pretty good. Taxes in the state of Nebraska, not so good. And over the years, we have spent a lot of time kind of playing on the fringes. Always have a big idea, but never really quite able to get that over the hump. So we've seen changes in the state taxes and some bracket work and clearly some property tax reform and even some income tax reform. But this year was an opportunity to do something truly large. And I think when I look at the long-term impact of the taxes that have been cut today, the impact on small businesses is dramatic. The fairness that we're expressing to corporate community who are looking at this place as a potential place to invest is dramatic. And in the end, I think this has a huge impact on our ability to grow the state faster. Now, this is one of my pet peeves, if you will, or maybe one of my soapbox issues, that we grew the state 0.7% a year population over the last decade. If we keep up that rate, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where businesses are going to start thinking about where can I find the people that I'm going to need. This tax cut today will make us so much more competitive with people who are currently in the state willing to stay, keeping retirees and their families here, and attracting people from the outside. I think that'll have a huge impact long-term on the ability to grow the state. You know, another 250,000 people paying taxes in the state would be a really good thing. And if we can help grow western Nebraska, rural Nebraska, even the region around us that is outside of Omaha, and then also have Omaha and Lincoln grow, I think we'll see a huge benefit to the state of Nebraska. So I want to thank Jennifer and Kristen and Lauren and Bruce for their longevity in working on this. The State Chamber, Lincoln Chamber, and the Omaha Chamber have been great partners in this process. And I'm really proud of the work that y'all have done. So thank you so much, and I think it's time to sign something, brother.
No, we got Dick Pierce yet.
Oh, Dick Pierce, I'm sorry. Yeah. Dick, you're next. Thank you.
Last but not least, I shouldn't say that. Save the best to last, that's not right either. I am the Dick Pierce. I live out in Buffalo County, farm and ranch out there, and I'm the outgoing tax chairman for the Nebraska Cattlemen. This has been a long pull. It seems to be the theme every time we have a board meeting with cattlemen that we've got to look at property taxes. And there's so many times when we felt like we really missed the mark, but this bill, historic, and might I even say landmark legislation, that is going to be a huge bonus to the state of Nebraska. 2 or 3 thoughts come to mind. This is Nebraska. This is how it's done. We cooperate. We don't see eye to eye on everything, but we come together and look for common ground and make everything work. And, you know, I hate to say this, it's not over. We've got more work to do. Kind of dangle the carrot out there, but this is a great step in the right direction. And to conclude, I'd like to thank all the senators, the governor, all the committee people that have been in on this, all of the other organizations, the chambers of commerce, Farm Bureau. It's been a great team and a great team effort. And looking forward to the future, I think we can do better, but this is a great step in the right direction. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much for your remarks today. To put this in perspective, when I started running for governor over 8 years ago, I made a commitment to providing tax relief. And my administration has worked with the legislature every year to provide tax relief. And up until this year, over the course of my administration, working together with the legislature, we provided $4 billion in tax relief. We've been able to do that because we've also been able to control our spending. You look at the budgets we've passed, we've kept that growth of the budget over the course of the last 8 years to 2.7%. With the signing of this historic bill, we will be able to provide, when it's fully phased in 2027, another $3.4 billion in tax relief to the citizens of Nebraska. And to put that into perspective of the historical context, this bill provides 12 times more tax relief than any previous tax relief bill in any previous administration. That's how significant this is. And again, it happened because of a team, because of the team you see represented behind here and all the folks that were involved behind the scenes to make this happen. So it is with great pleasure and pride that I look forward to signing this bill to officially sign LB 873 into law. And now, what I'd like to do is recognize a number of the people who were instrumental in making this happen by giving them a copy of the bill that they can then take home with them and show their children how historic this tax relief was. So we're going to start with the Speaker of the Legislature, Mike Hilgers. Again, just a tremendous cooperation between the Speaker's office and my office, and again, would not have happened without the Speaker.
Thank you so much.
And again, one of the things that's going to be true for everybody is that this would not be possible without the effort of everybody that was involved here. So we're just naming a few of the folks and recognizing him, but everybody was required to get this done. But another key person that just made this all happen is the chair of the Revenue Committee, Senator Lou Ann Linehan. now going to sign one for, I mentioned that one of the people that could not be with us here today was Senator Tom Breezy, because obviously he's at the funeral for his nephew. But again, he was an integral part of the team, so I've got a copy for him, which we will deliver to him later. One of the people who was spearheading the tax relief for our seniors was Senator Brett Lindstrom. So, Senator Lindstrom, will you come up here? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of grandmas and grandpas who are very happy about your efforts. Senator Lindstrom? Oh, he's okay. So Senator Lindstrom is campaigning today, so he's not here today. Another person who was an integral part of the team in making all this happen and part of the negotiations that helped us get this all done was Senator Kurt Friesen. Senator Friesen? All right, another member of the Revenue Committee, and again, it was required the Revenue Committee to get all this done, was Senator Mike Flood. Next, I'd like to call up Senator Joni Albright for her contributions on the Revenue Committee. Great. Thanks, Joni. Another member of the Revenue Committee who made this all happen was Senator Elliot Bostar. Another member who cannot be with us today, but also was an important part of this whole process, is Senator Rich Pauls. So we have a copy for him, and we'll keep a copy later. Next, I'd like to call up Senator Julie Salama. And next, I'd like to call up Senator John Lowe. Next, I'd like to call up Senator Rita Sanders. Next, I'd like to call up Senator Dave Berman. All right, next I'd like to call up Senator Myron Dorn. Now I'd like to call up Senator Bruce Bosselman. All right, next I'd like to call up another veteran of the legislature, Senator Aguilar. Next, I'd like to call up Senator Mike McDonald. McDonald. All right. Now I need my list of other senators. You have that other list of senators? Okay, great. All right, so next I'd like to call up Senator Justin Wayne. and Senator Rob Clements. All right, now I'd like to call up Senator Brewer. All right, now I'd like to call up Senator Mike Jacobson. Senator Steve Halloran. Senator McKinney. Senator Arch. Senator Brandt. Senator Williams. Senator Ben Hansen. Senator Robert Hickelman. Senator. All right. Also, Senator Geist could not be with us today, so I'd like to call up Mary Jacobson for Senator Geist. Mary, are you here? Congratulations. All right, I'm looking around. Is there any senator? There was a late ad that I missed. Looking around. I don't see any. Okay, good. The team did a good job of capturing all the senators' names. Good job, team. All right, next, I'd like to recognize some of the folks again that were part of the team that were not in the legislature, but certainly made this bill happen. Start with Brian Sloan. And of course, president of the Farm Bureau, which was again instrumental in making all this happen, as much of the tax relief over the last several years. Mark Picard. Another key partner on this was the Omaha Chamber of Commerce. So David Brown, can you come up and receive a copy too, please? And then also from the Chamber of Commerce is Scott Moore here. Scott, come on up. Union Pacific.
Thank you, Governor. Good job.
And then for the Nebraska Cattlemen, Dick Pierce, can you come up, please? Now representing Americans for Prosperity, Jessica Shelburne. too fast. You ran off too fast.
Sorry.
There you go. Brad was over there waiting to take your picture, and you moved off. Another key partner was the AARP, so can we have Todd Stubendike come up and receive a copy as well, please? All right. So I think that was the group that I had for the signed copies. I also have additional copies that we have for a number of other people. So, but I'm looking for that list. Where's the list of the other folks I want to recognize, Justin? Oh, there it is. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. As I mentioned, there were a number of other people that are behind the scenes that make this happen. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. So I'd like to come up and recognize the other folks with a signed copy of the legislation. And we're going to start with Committee Counsel for the Revenue Committee, Mary Jane Egeretson. Mary Jane? And a research analyst for the Revenue Committee, Kay Berquist. And then somebody who works in this room quite often, spends a lot of her time here, Jen Krieger from the Omaha Chamber. And then I'd also like to recognize from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, Kristen Hassenbrook. Now I'd like to recognize from the Nebraska Cattlemen, Ashley Coles. Also from the Nebraska Cattlemen, I'd like to recognize J.C. Hay. J.C.? Another person we need to recognize is Rob Robertson from the Nebraska Farm Bureau. Rob? Okay. Also need to recognize from the Nebraska Farm Bureau, Bruce Rieker. Bruce, where are you? There he is. In fact, Bruce was the first person who told me the bill passed, so thank you, Bruce. Now I'd like to recognize from the AARP, Eric Gerard. Eric? And from the Lincoln Independent Business Association, Bud Seinhorst. Where's Bud? Where's Bud? Okay, and then the CEO of Emeritus, who's the chair of the board for the Lincoln Chamber, Bill Lester. Bill? All right. Nelnet CFO, who's also with the Lincoln Chamber, Jim Kruger. President of Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Jason Ball. Jason? Also from Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Bruce Borer. Bruce, where are you? There you go. From the Omaha Chamber of Commerce, Tim Stewart. We'll take it back to him. All right, we'll get him. Huh? You'll take it from him. Great, thanks. Committee Clerk of the Revenue Committee, we also want to recognize Grant, I'm trying to read, Latimer. Grant. And from Farm Bureau, Andrew Dunkey. Did I get that right? Yep. Taking pictures back there. All right. Then I'd also like to recognize a couple of members of my team, and I'd like to give them this on behalf of their teams because everybody worked very hard on this. But first of all, my director for the Policy Research Office, Lauren Kintner. Lauren, can you come up, please? And then another key part of the team in helping make all this happen is Lee Will, my budget officer. Picture. I know you're not very good at this. Budget guys, they're always behind the scenes with the numbers, so they're not used to getting all the credit here. And then I think, Alex, is there anybody else I've missed? Did I get everybody? Justin, Alex, I got everybody? All right, very good. Well, again, as you can see from the long list of people that we recognized here today, it is a team effort. And I just want to thank all the members of the team, whether it was the Speaker, Chair Linehan, the Senators, all the groups that were involved, all the staff that was involved. It takes a lot of folks to make a historic like this bill get across the finish line, so I want to thank everybody for that. Now I would go ahead and open it up to questions and answers, and certainly you can direct the questions. I'm sorry, Alex, you're looking at me for something?
Probably have time for one question.
But we don't have time for a lot of questions. We can take a couple. We'll take a couple.
All right, two.
It's kind of historic. It's kind of historic. All right, we'll take two questions. Martha.
Governor, as one of the speakers mentioned, this is, a lot of people are saying this is not the end. What more needs to be done?
So the question was from Martha, this is not the end, what more needs to be done? Look, part of my administration has always been about continuous improvement, looking for ways that we can continue to build upon what we've done in the past to do a better job in the future. And I do think there are other things that we can address. One of the ways, for example, we value property in this state is based on a market sales methodology where most of the surrounding states to us do it on an income potential assessment. So that's an example of one of the things that we could do to improve how we assess property taxes here in our state. But as I am going to be leaving the office of governor, that will be up to a future governor and a future legislature to determine what other steps they might need to take. One last question, Andrew.
How does this rank in all the things that you've accomplished as governor?
So Andrew asked, how does this rank in all the things I've accomplished as governor? And I'd get back to, first of all, this is not something that I did by myself. This is something that we as a team worked on. And you know what, it is historic, as I mentioned. You can look at all the previous tax relief and all the previous administrations, and this is 12 times bigger than anything that was done prior to this administration. But I got to tell you, we've got a lot of people that worked hard through the floods and the pandemic to take care of Nebraskans, and taking care of Nebraskans is what we're supposed to be about at any level of government. And so that's one of the things I'm very proud of, all the team that's worked there, all the team that has worked in all of our agencies. So I think this is part of the overall picture, and it's an important part of the picture, but there's a lot of things that the team here at the state of Nebraska, both in the legislature and the judiciary office, everybody works hard to serve the people of Nebraska. That's what I'm most proud of, taking care of Nebraskans. So with that, folks, thanks again very much for being here this morning. Very much appreciate it on this historic day. And thanks again to everybody who made it happen.